And we're back. Episode 2, the Real FFL podcast. It is a working title. We may change the title. I am your host, Coach Earls, the owner of the newly rebranded Assateague War Turtles. And as always, I'm joined by the owner with the worst league name. What are you, Daytona? Are you Delray Beach
Dingos?
Logan Bruce.
Hey.
So, Logan, exciting times.
Assateague. Is that even how you pronounce it?
Assateague is north of Chincoteague, where the Chevro trains play their football.
Little in-office rivalry there.
With that said, a derby was born. We have a couple interesting derbies in the league. We got the South Portland Sea Pigs and the Portland Thunderbirds. That's going to be a great rivalry. A little Will Nagel, Coach Biedenbach rivalry.
I think the Sea Pigs are actually native to the South Portland area. I don't know about Thunderbirds.
What the fuck?
We'll have to get Bill on here to see how he came up with that name.
Well, did you look at his picture?
No.
It looks like a hawk that's getting electrocuted.
It's getting thundered.
So, do you think he Googled...
It's lightning.
Do you think he Googled Thunderbird and that was the first image that came up?
Yeah.
100%. Well, the same thing with me. If you look at mine, I looked up a war turtle, and there was this picture of a turtle with a cannon on his back.
I think it was Blastoise, wasn't it?
No, that's not Blastoise. This was like some like the nerds.
I thought it was like a drawing of it. I guess he has two cannons, one on each shoulder. Blastoise
No. This was like some what are the wizards? The nerd kids are into this mythical world thing, and this was some fantasy thing. And that was a depiction of the battle of some weird thing that people are into.
Side note, Bill is still using Bagel 2578.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
All right, let's get into it. So the first thing we want to talk about, we obviously have the rookie draft. This is recorded on Friday. Our rookie draft is tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have this released later today so everyone can listen to it. We're going to mock out the first round. What I was thinking we would do, since Logan is more familiar with about half of our league members from playing with them in fantasy, and from knowing them for a good portion of his life, like his brother, and I am familiar with a good half, I will represent and be the buyer profile of Turles, the two Myers bros, Will and Biedenbach, and then you as my 6, and then you will draft and put your hat on for me, and then Andy, Nate, your brother, Tyler, and Colin. So when we do the rookie draft, those would be the 6 that you will be drafting for based on who you think they would pick based on what you know about them. A little buyer profile.
Okay.
Cool. So we'll get into that. But first, since we're talking about the team names, thank you for everyone who submitted it, except for Chris Myers, who still does not have a team name. Let's vote on objectively, who do you think has the best team name? Number 1.
The best team name. I think Alex has the best team name, only because of what we found out about the Lemmings. So there's a little backstory here. So he said the Lafayette Lemmings. And then we asked a kid in the office what the lemmings were, and just out of nowhere, he's like, "Oh, they're a small rodent that are native in the Arctic."
Was that Torres?
Yeah. And then it was just weird. He knew it, and that's the way he said it. And then I actually asked Alex, like, before that kid had answered in a text, and he said something like they're rodents that are native to, and he just said another word for cold. So then we looked these things up, and somebody in the office was like, "These things commit mass suicide." And not funny. We were like, okay, that's weird. So we looked it up, and there was actually video footage of it's called the slice of lemmings, like a large group of lemmings just taking the plunge like off of a cliff. It was kind of sad, but also in a weird way, it was funny.
So who's just sitting there with live footage of just? Well, look at these cute little rodents. Oh no,
they are. They're cute, and yeah, you would see it was like a group of like 30 of them just took the plunge. Also, another sad note, I didn't tell Alex this. We, the kid in the office, did some more research on your dime.
Jesus.
And so these things, like they swim in ponds and stuff. And this one's sad. Sometimes they'll jump into the ocean and just start swimming because they think it's a pond, and they think they're going to get to the other side.
Oh God!
But it's like the Pacific Ocean. There's no other side.
Oh God!
And they don't make it.
Oh God!
Yeah. So I think the Lafayette sinking lemmings would have been another good one.
Yep. Fitting name for Alex, as he will probably be in the bottom of this league year after year.
Well, he's the flying lemming, so.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think for me, my favorite. So I really like Tyler's name, but I think if I had to pick one, I think it's the Sea Pigs, man. I think Drew, and then coming with the South Portland Sea Pigs. I'm a big guy with alliteration, right? Like, I mean, I'm a sucker for it. And you got the SPSP
backstory there to that.
Well, yeah, Drew wanted to be Portland, and then he was throwing out all these different names with Portland. And right before he decided, I go on there and I said, well, Bill just randomly picked the Portland Thunderbirds. I hadn't heard from Will about this. By the way, Will, Bill, same person. We'll go back and forth on it. So I told Drew he already stole the name. And then I thought Will would be willing to change. And I reached out to him and I said, Drew really wanted Portland. And Bill basically said, that sucks. Tell him I'll trade him. He can give me a pick for it. And
Portland's not really a big enough city to where you can actually just have two.
No,
you'd have to go another area of the city.
So we're calling it a derby, but technically Will is the Portland, Oregon Thunderbirds, and Drew is the South Portland, Maine Sea Pigs.
Okay, so I was going to say, is it Portland, Maine? That's genius.
Portland, Oregon, and South Portland, Maine. But we are still calling it a derby and a rivalry because this rivalry goes into our other league, in our auction league, where due to COVID, we did the whole protecting drops and everything. Drew dropped the Steelers defense. They were supposed to be protected, and Bill picked them up. And then Bill was struggling to drop them. So that this rivalry is becoming very intense. I think overall that is the best team name. Who do you have down as the worst team name?
The worst team name? So is it too late to change mine? This whole thing kind of started because mine is not the worst, I don't think.
Well,
I didn't know what a Chevro train is, but now that I saw what they look like, I do like Andy's team name. This is an easy answer. I'm gonna have to go with Chris Myers because he hasn't even taken the time to come up with one.
Yeah, I think Chris is.
I think Tim's attempt
is the
at
bottom.
Turtles Island.
Well, if we talk about people's attempts first time around.
That's true.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we just leave it at Chris as the guy that is really bringing the league down right now.
Chris out of it. Honestly, I'm going to have to take a direct shot at Bill.
The Thunderbirds.
The Portland Thunderbirds.
Oh, boy. Well, obviously, outside of Chris, everyone knows my vote. I open up the show with it. The Delray Beach Dingos is a terrible team name.
Yeah. And I lived in Delray Beach, so I'm the only one that actually can fly the flag of the city I represent.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to the next segment. We need a transition song. That'll make it a lot better.
I don't know what this button is. All right,
great transition to the next segment. So before we get into the mock draft, I wanted to get your Logan Bruce spicy chicken nugget from McDonald's, who sponsors this show.
Great.
Get them now.
Thank you for recommending
If you buy $20 worth of McDonald's on DoorDash, enjoy a free 10-piece nugget on McDonald's. Just use the code FFL podcast. Redeem now. So anyways, your spiciest take, your spicy bold prediction for what you think takes place, the number one bold prediction that you think happens during our rookie draft tomorrow.
Someone takes all Ohio State Buckeyes.
Is that possible?
I don't know.
We have J.K. Dobbins.
Are there other Ohio State players?
I was looking at you. That is not a great take. Give me something else.
Somebody's going to trade all of their picks and not have any rookies, and they're going to try to outsmart the league and get them all for next year. and not have any cheap contracts for this year.
There's an outside chance of that happening, but my concern right now, no one is like talking, like we're in the silent zone, So I'm not 100% convinced that happens.
I think J.K. Dobbins going in the top 4. I don't know if that's spicy though. It could be, but I don't know. I don't really have a spicy take. And I mean, I think you told me what yours might be.
My bold prediction is that Earls, with the number 1 overall pick in the fantasy football draft, is going to take CeeDee Lamb.
Damn, boy, he's thick. Boy, that's a thick-ass boy.
That is spicy.
CeeDee Lamb, I think is absolutely. I was hoping at number 3 overall that's who would fall. The natural thinking is that Jonathan Taylor and CEH would be the top 2 people off the board, and then I was looking at it would probably be between CD and J.K. Dobbins in that spot. I would have taken CeeDee Lamb. If he takes him, that's obviously going to change a lot of things. And Turles loves taking receivers, and in the first round of a traditional draft, he's one that will take a receiver. So it wouldn't surprise me if that is how things played out, but I think that would be a shocker right out the gate because most people would be planning on Jonathan Taylor and CEH being 1 and 2.
I mean, with us 2 and 3, like I don't know, at 2, I won't give away, but it's like obviously like if CEH, you take either any of those 3 guys in these top 3, like you could argue like at number 2, any of them is good value.
Well, the thing we don't know and what's interesting about this league, if you do the mock draft, which I recommend everyone do before the free agent auction, I'm telling you, you're going to be screwed if you don't do it, is the running backs are going to cost the most, the top running backs. And if you think about any draft, the top 12 picks, probably 8 of them are running backs, maybe more in a normal snake draft. And if you think of regular auction, running backs are going to, you think about the first people, CMC, Saquon, Zeke, all those guys in just a regular auction, how expensive they were.
Yeah.
Is that what's going to happen in this league? I mean, if that's the case, then it becomes, well, during the rookie draft, it probably makes sense for the majority of those to be running backs because the salaries will be significantly cheaper and to take a chance on them. But given the fact we have data, and the majority of those guys in that top 12 are receivers who have had pretty productive years already in year 1.
It's like CD. It's kind of the same thing. Like PPR leagues, like
which we
this
are.
dude, yes, thank God. Like he could be a top receiver next year. He could be a top receiver. Year 3, he could be one of the best in the league. Like that's where I don't know. Like if you're not all in on Edwards-Helaire, which is the Le'Veon Bell signing, like
that's another wrinkle. Good point.
Mm-hmm. So Jonathan Taylor, I don't know. Marlon Mack coming back next year. I don't know. Is he on a contract?
He's on a contract year.
Okay.
Obviously, he's out for the whole season, torn ACL. I think he is 100% gone.
I just feel weird about Taylor. I don't know why. At noon on Saturday, Jonathan Taylor's probably going to be on my team.
The Colts have been splitting, though, with Jordan Wilkins and Nahi Himes. And Jonathan Taylor. A lot of Jonathan Taylor owners have been a bit frustrated.
Yeah.
Also, I've heard some people mention that he's not, breaking as many tackles and just like talent-wise isn't looking as strong. And I've heard the same thing about CEH. I don't know how much, you can read into that, but
honestly, I might feel better having CeeDee Lamb on my team than either of those 2.
Oh boy, we're talking him into it. What about Justin Jefferson?
No.
Interesting.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think Henry Ruggs, like, he scares me.
Who are you taking? If you have Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, and T. Higgins, who are you taking?
Jeudy.
Interesting. I think I'm taking T. Higgins.
You keep saying that. Why?
You got the quarterback receiver. Burrow is going to be a competent quarterback. I think he's shown enough. Like I think he's
going to be good.
Even if he's average with that, unless they fire Taylor and they bring in a new coach, of course that's always possible. But it doesn't seem they're going that way because they've had some competitive games this year, all things considered. So if you have that offense and you have Burrow and they're now playing him the majority of snaps and he's been able to be a real solid, this year, I mean, he's a real solid flex play, consistently getting double digits in PPR leagues. As that connection continues to go and they work together in the offseason and they're already kind of building that bond, you got the quarterback who's going to be there for the next 3 to 4 years. He's going to be the main guy for the next 3 to 4 years. I think there's consistency. Like Ruggs, is Carr going to be the guy? What are they get? Plus, they drafted Bryan Edwards. How's that going to play out? Judy, you got Cortland Sutton there, who's still a young receiver. Is Drew Lock the guy? There's in the Denver kind of seems to want to go more for defense and running the ball, less high flying offense. Right. So those would be my concerns. I think that's why I would go T Higgins there.
That makes sense. Ruggs kind of, I don't know. He's sketchy. He had his big game last week, but it was 2 catches of 40 yards plus.
Correct. Yeah. Only 2 catches. They were just bombs. But he's a rookie. I don't know. It's tough.
What about spicy take that Herbert goes in front of Joe Burrow? Herbert's been playing well. You could argue. He is having the better year, I would say.
How about a spicy take? Do you think a quarterback goes in the first round?
Yes.
Interesting. Now, that would be a spicy take. I think there's no way in hell. I think if someone takes a quarterback in the first round, they're a lunatic.
Just looking at, my list here, like Cam Akers is in the top 10. Like, I'd rather have Joe Burrow or Herbert than Cam Akers or somebody. I don't know. Who knows there, I guess. But then, like Ruggs, I don't know. Outside of the name, Michael Pittman is number 12 on this list.
Well, that's the other thing we don't know with quarterbacks. So, again, if you think about a traditional auction, you have your couple guys, the Mahomes of the world, that go for a bit more. You have the other guys who are a bit lower. The guys who are, like, outside of the top 10 tier in, like, the pre-rankings, are they going for 1-year minimum contracts or
QBs?
Yeah, what are their prices going to be? Because then that obviously, it's going to be more difficult now because people know. So, but in the preseason, like I told you, like an Aaron Rodgers was ranked so low on the QB. Like, could you have gotten him in the mock I did? I got Aaron Rodgers for the 1 year, 500,000 minimum. Right. Would that have happened in real life? I don't know. But I know in like plenty of auction leagues, there are people out there like a Josh Allen and stuff like that. We're probably going for $1 in your auction league, the minimum. So that's
Does that change in this league? Do you think like this? Josh Allen is dominating. Like, is there increased value because of the length that you're going to have these guys on your team? Like, if you think he's just going to get better next year and the year after, do you spend the money? Like, throw a quarterback on a 3-year deal? That's where it's like it's.
So one thing that
do you think Josh Allen will be a 1-year deal?
I think he'll probably be 2 years. I was going to ask you, that was going to be like for the free agent auction. Do you think someone signs Mahomes to their 4-year contract? That's kind of a layup for like, you probably could say with pretty good confidence for 4 years, obviously this year, and then 3 more years that Mahomes is going to be a top quarterback.
Probably the top quarterback.
But then that's where you look at the points, though, and say, well, he wasn't even – I don't know if you saw that stat. Since Ryan Tannehill took over as the starting quarterback for the Titans, he is better than Mahomes.
I saw that.
Better passer rating, more touchdowns, less picks.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. So I think that's where people kind of look at it and say, I don't need to do that. I could find someone who I can, maybe fill in there.
You could sign like Dak to a multi-year deal and then put him on the IR and pay him half his money.
Right, but yeah, correct. But are you going to do that now? Like, because are the Cowboys going to re-sign him?
True. I got to stop giving away my secrets.
Right. That's going to be a tough one. Speaking of which, I did want to touch on, I guess, before we get into the rookie mock stuff, some of the questions that I had got from people. One of them was Nate was asking if there'd be a punishment if you came in last place. Like, in his league, you stand on the corner with a sign saying that you came in last place or something like that. I said no, because like we're obviously, this is long term, so people might be in rebuilding stage or something.
You don't get relegated, kicked out of the league.
However, the other question I had got was, will we do reverse order for next year's rookie draft so the team that came in last automatically gets the first pick? Or should we potentially consider a lotto system to prevent people from intentionally tanking? Someone asked, well, how would you tank? Well, you would play everyone on your bench who is not going to do anything, and you would just intentionally get slaughtered in games and guarantee that you will get that first place. I mean, my thinking, though, is if we do the rookie draft a week after the actual draft, there's not, even if you have the number 1 overall pick, there's not, like, I look back at old years and looking at some of the rankings of people, it's not a slam dunk that you're getting this guy who's going to be a game changer for you. So we could talk about that.
There has to be that one guy, though. Like, this year, I think Edwards-Helaire would have been the one that everybody got.
Yeah, it would have been Edwards-Helaire. I mean, last year, probably
Saquon
Josh
Barkley.
Jacobs.
Yeah, Jacobs.
Saquon was...
I mean, Jacobs, I don't know. Was he the top run? He was the first running back taken.
Yeah, I'm thinking
he was way down. He was like 28th, wasn't he?
I believe when I looked on the 2019 rookie rankings, he was the number 1 guy. Yeah, it was Josh Jacobs, then David Montgomery, Miles Sanders.
I didn't know Montgomery was that young.
I did not either. I thought he was 35 years old.
So did I. Are you sure? What are you looking at?
He is.
Miles Sanders is a second year back too.
You're probably thinking, remember the Bears had Jordan Howard.
I know Jordan Howard.
Then they brought in David Montgomery.
I feel like they brought in David Montgomery in 2014.
2018 was Saquon, Darius Geis, Sony Michel. But then obviously you did have a Nick Chubb, Rashad Penny, Ronald Jones, Royce Freeman. You know, there could have been some mix there. 2017, Corey Davis was number 1, then CMC.
Nice.
So Joe Mixon, Leonard Fournette, Mike Williams from the Chargers, Dalvin Cook, Samaje Perine,
Wait,
John
Joe Mixon's
Ross.
been in the league since 2017?
Yes.
That's it?
Yep.
The hell?
You know nothing about football. Maybe you shouldn't be in this league, buddy.
Dude, I just feel like these guys have been around I feel like Joe Mixon was putting up 150 on the Browns for like 5 years.
What will we do without the Delray Beach Dingos in the league? Think about that. So
I mean, the championship slot would open up.
Good one, man.
Is there a laugh track on here?
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
I'm open to it though. So again, we decided that in the off season, everyone will vote on 3 people that they want to be in the council, with number 1 being like, we'll do like points assigned. And then ultimately 5 people, whoever get the top 5 most amount of points, will be on the council. Any ideas on any of that type of stuff, 4 or 5 people approve on the council, it passes. So if 4 or 5 people agree that there should be a lottery system, we will do it that way. That's fine. And so
what about contingency for COVID?
We're not doing it this year. Next year, that could be if we're still dealing with COVID next year.
Okay.
So
we're not doing it?
No.
Okay.
So anyways, those are the questions that came up. If you have any more, keep submitting them over. There's also a question about the cap, where I'd mentioned that the cap is going to increase, like with the NFL. Hold on. I just got COVID on the mic.
I don't know what button it was.
The reason that happened, because he said, Matt brought this up, it was a good point, that, the NFL increases that because revenues increase. And, that's not really what's happening here. Well, when you sign guys to contracts, keep in mind that their contracts are increasing every year. So you don't sign a guy to a 4-year and it's a $20 million hit this year, a $20 million hit in year 2, a $20 million hit in year 3. It goes like 20, 22, 24, 26. It's escalating.
Yeah, right.
So that I think is part of the thinking there. So if you look at your all the guys that you have on multi-year contracts, you look at your hit this year, and then it'll tell you on the league homepage what your caps look like the next couple of years. So you could see like your salaries, how it's escalating over time.
Yeah. So you're going to have to probably be offloading salaries if there's a guy, like there's going to be a lot of movement. Like, because that was my fear, was that it would be kind of you draft your team and then there's not much happening because you have your guys.
Right.
But you're going to always want to be moving, like clearing up space and whatnot. So, all
right, let's get into the mock draft. So up first, we have the Moorhead Fantasy Honks. Of course, Turles is the owner. Turles is one of the guys I'll be drafting for. We already talked about it in our Spicy Nugget McDonald's take of the rookie draft. Enjoy free 10 Spicy Nuggets. When you order anything of $20 or more, just use FFL podcast. We already talked about it. I think if I'm drafting for Turles is a wild card. Turles is always going against the grain. Turles is always outthinking people most of the time to his non-benefit. So
trying to outthink people.
I think number one in the mock draft, I have Turles taking CD Lamb. Are you writing these down, by the way? Because I'm going to forget.
No. You're looking at me. No, I'm not writing these down.
Okay. So we have CD Lamb going number one overall. Next is Delray Beach Dingos, which I'll be drafting for you, putting on my buyer profile of LB. If there's anything I know about LB, there's a couple of things. One, he's a musician. Two,
I thought you were going to say I was a Mizzou fan or something.
LB, number one, he's a musician. Number two, he does not like when I give him work. Number three, he is a sucker for the Colts and the Colts run game.
Do you know how many, before you say this, how many times have I said that Jonathan Taylor sketches me out?
I think ultimately he's going to go back. He's going to pull up highlights on YouTube all day today. He's going to be watching them. He's going to be getting excited. He's going to be thinking about the future of the Dingos. And Jonathan Taylor is going to be his pick at number 2.
Interesting.
All right, number 3, Asad Teague. You're drafting for me.
Say that's not going to happen.
Put on your Merle Cat cap. Who will I take at 3? So far, CD Lamb and Jonathan Taylor have been the first 2 picks.
Again, I think you have that Earls blood in you. I feel like you're going to try to outsmart people. For some reason, I feel like you aren't sold on Edwards-Helaire. I think you're scared. I think, and you've mentioned his name a lot, that you go Justin Jefferson.
I love me some JJ.
Yeah.
All right, number 4, the Flying Lemmings, who's your brother. You know him well. You guys have...
If Edwards-Helaire is on the board, it's him.
So we don't even have to go through an analysis, CEH?
He would take him, yeah.
CEH goes number 4 overall. Number 5 is the Anaheim Antelopes, or I thought he was changing his name to the Wichita Blinking Lizards. Not winking lizard like the restaurant, blinking lizards.
I don't know what he's doing.
That is Nate the Grizz Coughlin. Obviously, you work with the guy. You know him.
So had this draft gone a little bit differently, I honestly, with me at number 2, I was thinking about taking this guy, J.K. Dobbins. I have Nate taking. He's a huge Buckeye fan. He doesn't know any players on the team, but he's a huge Buckeye fan. I think he goes Dobbins, which is a smart pick. I like that pick.
I agree there. I think that would make a ton of sense. So up next is the Kalamazoo King Crabs, owned by Tyler, who is, I guess you kind of know him. I mean, he's your brother's
friend. We got a
friend.
Call of Duty Warzone victory together last night.
There you go. So what's the scouting report on Tyler? What is he going to do here?
He knows a ton. His sport knowledge is more than I thought. Last night, randomly he just has a ton of sport. When we were playing Call of Duty last night, he was going to revive one of 2 people. His question, he asked, what 2 NBA players' jerseys have been retired by the team they did not play for? And he just knew this off the top of his head. The answer is Michael Jordan by the Heat and Pistol Pete Maravich by New Orleans. I don't know why he knew this, so that kind of scared me. I think this guy is a sleeper in the league. I think he has a ton of knowledge, and I think he goes... Let me look here. I think he goes Judy.
Interesting. Is that final?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to number 7. We got Matt Myers, who I will be picking for. Obviously, I know Matt from the Hometown Heroes. He has been a champion in that league. Very good fantasy competitor. Always finding ways to win. I was actually going to say, if you look at his team currently in Hometown Heroes, sitting on his bench is a guy by the name of Jared Judy. That's who I would have guessed that he would be eyeballing at that stage. Matt is a huge receiver drafter. History of receivers, you look at his team in Hometown Heroes, got Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen, Will Fuller, Juju Smith. His top running back is Mixon. and now he's playing Alexander Madison because he stole Chris's handcuff. So I would be thinking for sure Matt would be eyeballing a receiver here, but with Judy off the board and looking at some of the running backs there, including a guy we have not talked about who is an undrafted guy playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars by the name of James Robinson. It's sitting there, has been a very solid fantasy running back this year. DeAndre Swift is a very interesting running back. Cam Akers, interesting running back. Antonio Gibson. A lot of interesting running backs sitting there, but I think ultimately Matt would think the same way I think with the high-flying offense of the Bengals in the future. I think he would lock in T. Higgins right here.
Interesting. So there it was. Henry Ruggs, Higgins jumps Ruggs.
So then the next up would be the Akron Hammers, who's calling. That would be one of your close confidants.
Robinson.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Cullen knows what he's doing. He would just go with the guy that's been productive. No questions asked.
Okay. Keep in mind, I mean, it's a 3-year contract. We're obviously halfway into year one, so then I guess you have 2 more future years. You could also extend the guys who are drafted in year one. You have an option to extend there. So next up then would be the Portland Thunderbirds. That's Will. Will is more of your just kind of going with the standard, going with the flow. I know in our league, in our auction league, he was talking to me about a trade for Antonio Gibson. He likes him a lot, and we were going back and forth on that. I think he likes. I think he likes the talent of Ruggs, but I think he's looking at
Swift?
that I think that's where because we know what has played out so far, I think there will be some people that I think Swift falls a little bit because people are looking at that. And you're looking at Antonio Gibson. He's getting the carries. He's catching the ball now. The hope is that, Washington, I mean, obviously now they're going to be looking for a quarterback, but, Washington always seems to have a pretty solid running back and get you points. If Gibson's the guy over the next couple of years, should be a very productive solid running back. Now, the ceiling, I don't think, is as high on him. I don't see the Washington offense putting up a lot of points over the next 3 years. But if you're looking for that workhorse guy who's getting you double digits every single week because of volume, I think that's Antonio Gibson. Bill is a volume type of guy.
He is.
Antonio Gibson.
Okay. Good pick, Bill.
Who is number 10? Number 10 is the Chincoteague Island Chevrolet Trains, my rival. Owner Andy, he is your friend. Some might say you work with him.
Yep.
Who would you take?
I think Swift, just because he's still the highest he's the highest on the board. At some point, somebody's going to take him and just take a shot.
It depends what board you're looking at.
I'm looking at.
Did you customize your board?
I'm customizing it as we're going.
Okay, so you're taking DeAndre Swift for the Chincoteague Chevrolet Trains.
Yeah, or he's taking him, but speaking of a QB in the first round, I think this is where it could happen. Is Andy taking a quarterback? That's just a side note.
I'm not 100% convinced about that. That would be interesting. Okay, so if we move on, we have Chris, who does not have a team name. By the way, I don't think I mentioned earlier, Matt's team name is the Dillon Panthers. It's just not in the system.
Right.
So Chris is up. He doesn't have a team name. Chris,
no draft pick.
Chris is an interesting feller. One thing I know about him, he is a huge Bengals fan. So I think he'd be looking at Joe Burrow here. I think he'd be like, I really want to get my Bengals on my team because I'm a huge Bengals guy. But I think ultimately, I think Chris, he's looking at Cam Akers here, and he's thinking about it between him and Henry Ruggs. I think you'd go with Cam Akers. Now, I think that's a solid pick. The recency bias and because of what Darrell Henderson has been doing, I could see Cam Akers slipping a bit. But going into the season, like in regular fantasy drafts, Cam Akers was drafted relatively high. I mean, he's the talent's there. Obviously, they drafted him relatively early, the Rams. So I don't think Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson are going to be the answers. And Cam Akers has had some injuries and such. So I think
Who knows, though?
I think that he would be still a solid pickup here. And then we rounded out with Biedenbach, the South Portland Sea Pigs, my favorite name. Drew is a huge Steelers fan. And I think if what he's going to do on the wraparound, just from a smart strategy, he's going to want to, if he can, go running back receiver. I think that makes sense, unless there were just like two guys you couldn't pass on. Because he's a Steelers fan, I think he would honestly be looking at Claypool. If Ruggs is still there, though, it'll be tough for him. But I think as a receiver on the wraparound, he'd be looking at him. And then I think when you're looking at running back, since all these other guys have gone, you have a Zach Moss sitting there.
Yeah.
Zach Moss is coming back from injury. Devin Singletary, like last game, they didn't play him. They put in what the hell is that dude's name? Yeldon?
Was it Yeldon from Jacksonville last year?
Yeah, was it him?
I don't know if they played him.
Yeah, it was whoever it was. It was this the random third string guy was the one in there. Devin Singletary was on the bench. Zach Moss, obviously, they drafted him too, so they didn't feel all that confident in Singletary coming into the season. Based on the usage of Singletary, it seems like they're not in love with him. Seems he's finally healthy. I think down the stretch this year, Zach Moss is going to be very productive. So I think he would be a very solid addition. I think the talent's there for him to be a very, very productive running back. Other guys to consider here, I mean, a Joshua Kelly, if you're looking at the whole Eckler and how long he's out this year and what that means for the future. Of course, he would be an interesting guy. Michael Pittman's on IR, but the talent, he was ranked highly coming in. So certainly, that's interesting. Of course, again, with the Colts, they also have Paris Campbell, who's on IR. Uncertainty at the quarterback position. I mean, how long is Phillip going to be the guy? They got Jacoby versus,
Are you trying to talk me into taking Jonathan Taylor at 2 with this?
What's going to happen there? So I think ultimately looking at the rest of the guys that are here, LaMichael Pirine is interesting. I am going after him in the this will come out after that happens, but I'm going after him in our Hometown Heroes League as a free agent just to stash him. I have Le'Veon Bell. Obviously, he's on the Chiefs now. Frank Gore is the only other guy there in New York, and Gay said they're ready to unleash LaMichael Pirine, see what he can do. So I think he could be a sneaky guy down the stretch if he's available as a free agent. You could stash him in any of your leagues. I think he is certainly going to be interesting, and we'll find out how good he is. We haven't really seen him all that much.
I mean, Gore was getting the carries, wasn't he?
Yeah, Pirine has been. Everyone forgets about him because he just hasn't. They haven't done anything, but now they're finally apparently ready to actually give him the ball. They said that his workload will increase dramatically.
Let me check the orchard.
So he's one. It might completely fall flat, but if you have a roster spot,
picking him up now.
Yeah, if he's on a roster spot, throw him on your roster and just see how things finish.
He's right
this
there.
Season.
He's right there, right under Frank Gore on the waiver wire.
There you go. Yeah, snag LaMichael Pirine. Let's see what happens.
He did not. The first thing I see, Pirine did not see an offensive touch.
Right. But did you see Gase's quote recently? He said that he is going to Chris just texted me a middle finger.
Is he listening to the podcast?
No. Come on, man. He just
do I drop Adrian Peterson for this guy?
Oh boy, are you ever going to start AP? Like, he's getting the value, but that's the question too with DeAndre Swift. Like, are they going to eventually say we got to get the rookie the ball? Like, are you just going to the Lions do have the easiest schedule the remainder? Did you know the Lions are the only team in football that all of their games have come against opponents with winning records right now?
I did not know that, but I feel like Tyler knows that.
We need to get Tyler on the podcast episode next. But so the Lions have had a tough go at it, and I think with, their record's not good. Like, eventually you got to be like, you got to get DeAndre Swift. You can't keep giving Adrian Peterson 90 carries a game. Like, what are you doing?
We're non-PPR. His highest point total was week 1 with 11. Then he had 4, 8, and 9.
Yeah, because he's not really getting anything. And Kerryon Johnson's not doing anything either. He's just completely
rush attempts 14, 7, 22, 11.
For who?
AP.
Yeah. I think if you want to add on to the spicy take, Matt Patricia, I don't think he makes it past this year. I think they bring in a new head coach.
You think?
Yeah.
What about Matt Stafford?
I think
Because this year was a question mark.
so. A couple people I follow on Twitter are Lions fans, and they seem to always tweet stuff that like people Lions fans supporting Matt Stafford, like it's not his fault for what's happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what his contract situation is. Obviously, if you could take him and draft a guy and have him sit under him, that would be ideal.
I just dropped Adrian Peterson.
So they do have talent. I really believe in Kenny Galladay. I think he's solid. Marvin Jones is getting up there. I mean, they need to try to get another secondary guy, but DeAndre
Marvin
Swift,
Jones has been in the league as long as David Montgomery, it feels like.
1 year.
Yeah, since 2009.
And I think DeAndre Swift's talent's there. So anyways, we had Drew taking Zach Moss. And then I think if we wanted to give a little bonus pick on the wraparound, I think he takes Claypool because he loves his Steelers.
That's fair.
And the recency bias because his last game
just went off. Yeah.
was a huge game. I mean, that's a
You think
big
Jordan Love gets drafted?
Yeah, I think what happens when you get to the third round, when you look down there and you get to the middle, a couple picks in, like 4 or 5 picks into the third round, it's a lot of guys that people don't really know about, haven't seen the field. I think that's where you start. If you see a name out there you recognize, I think Tua ultimately falls to the third round or late second.
Yeah.
I think Herbert and Burrow might go late second. I think that's where you start looking at some of those names, and I think someone would just stash him. The problem is, again, it's a 3-year contract. 1 year is this year.
Every rookie is 3 years?
Yes. So 1 year is this year, and then you look at next year, like Aaron Rodgers has mentioned that this might be it. I mean, he is absolutely dominating, cruising. Like it's hard to imagine right now with how he's doing.
Right.
He would retire after this season. You know, unless he goes all the way, they win the Super Bowl, and then he just says, okay, that's how I'm ending it, then maybe that's what happens and it shocks everybody. But, I mean, he's playing at such a high level. That would be so weird to me if he did that. So then you're looking at him, if next year it seems likely he comes back. So now you got 1 more year, even if Love does step in.
Right. Essentially
and because because he's a non-first round, you wouldn't have the rookie contract extension. You could still extend him with your normal franchise tag or contract extension. But,
so your first round picks could be 4-year
correct
contracts because of the rookie extension.
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone else is 3 years, and that's another thing we could vote on in the off season if we want to do longer. I think this just mixes it up where people aren't, because of all the other multi-year contracts. There's always a good pool of free agents coming back in.
Yeah, I think we want to keep it that way.
Yeah,
like you don't want the free agency draft to be boring.
Right. Okay, cool. Anything else, Logan? Any final thoughts as we head into this rookie draft? And I know you're super nervous. I'm still trying to trade Turtles to take that number 1 overall pick.
You want to take Jefferson at 1?
Yes. Justin Jefferson's the real deal.
We'll figure that out.
All right. Send us out.
All right. I'm actually going home. I'm not going to be working today.
Fair enough. Goodbye.